Oh, here we are again now, and it's like no time has passed. Gazing out upon the sunset as it sinks into the night. Many times it seemed as though a given day might be our last. Face to face with certain death, it's somehow coming out alright. I don't think that we have any cause to lament, but there's quite a lot of thrilling intent, thrilling intent, thrilling intent, thrilling intent.
Gregor, you begin to pull yourself up, seeing the Ashen Knight sort of like engage in combat and actually come to your defense. You're reminded of the incident back on the plains, and you don't have very much time to reminisce because something actually hits you from the side, and with a huge splash of water, someone flies in, hits you in the side, and then carries you off in this direction.
What?
Harlock watches as that shit goes down.
I'm trying to do a thing!
I figured he'd be a problem.
You rebound backwards, Gregor, and actually, like, he knocks you away, creating a moat of water between you and just splashing you backwards. You slide across the ground and actually land on your feet this time. He looks at you, looks at your glaive, looks at your robe, and actually stops, like, considers for a second and salutes. Captain Weiss, formerly of the Renalian Militia.
Shit!
He then stops and reassumes his position, picking up the rapier again. Your order saved the lives of me and my men multiple times. You have my gratitude.
What are you doing?
He cocks an eyebrow. Oh, you mean doing here? Doing with him?
I think that's what he means, yeah.
Oh. he quizzically, like, actually stops, puts his blade away, and holds it sort of, like, across his shoulders. Much like the portrait. He's clearly still defending himself. He doesn't know if you're going to attack or not. I have a policy. I myself am not particularly strong, so I try to rise above people who I need to crush. He picks up his blade again. So, are you going to make this hard for me or easy for me?
You know what I'm gonna do. It's up to you.
Very well. Gregor, as you're fucking drenched, and, like, you now have a head wound or something, it sucks, you can't see straight, your lower back is killing you, but that water, you can feel it digging in and kind of burns a bit, but then it starts to feel better? Like, it starts to feel good? And, yeah, your wounds are healing.
Oh, my body was very thirsty.
He grins again, at you. Very well. Okay, Outrider, do what you do best. And it is Kyr's turn. Kyr is going to move forwards, unaware of this situation, and start working on something in this space. Marcus, it's your go.
Awesome. Wait, so was this paladin smooshed?
Yeah, that one's a little smooshed. I'll flip him. I'll flip this smooshed paladin.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Hey, Gregor, are you doing all right over there?
No.
Okay. Do you want some help with that strange fellow you're fighting? If you are fighting him, it's kind of hard to tell.
From this angle, it's pretty difficult to tell.
We'll play it by ear. Marcus rushes forward past Kyr, hopping over whatever contraption he is working on, and think that he's going to kind of move right around here and send a big gout of flame straight at this paladin and hopefully extending into the boar.
Fantastic, okay. Marcus, you're not quite sure what's happening between these two over in the corner, so you're like, okay, fuck that. I'm gonna get involved with the main fight. Ashen Knight's doing good work. I'm gonna do good work too. So
I'm gonna do great work.
You sneak on up behind this paladin, like, as stealthily as possible, lifting one leg delicately over the other, and you sneak up behind, and you extend your hand, and And one of the protuberances on the boar's sword splits open, and there's an eye in there. And even though he's focused entirely on the Ashen Knight, you feel like you're immediately spotted. And as you move in, and the flames begin to lick their way up and down your hand, you extend your palm to shoot a gout of flames at this guy. And the paladin, or this facsimile of a paladin, looking into that helmet, this isn't a person. This armor's empty. This facsimile drives its sword outwards and impales your hand. And with the worst possible timing, your spell sort of not only just fizzles, the fire actually is sort of pushed into your hand, and you start to burn yourself alive from the inside. One of the few places that isn't directly fire resistant.
No!
And you watch, Marcus, as the flame begins to worm its way up your arm, and it begins to travel almost like a light source working its way deeper and deeper into your body, but as it goes past, your skin begins to flare and change colors to a voidish, just abyssal black. You begin to watch as that fire works its way in, and something inside of you doesn't like sharing that space, the space behind your eyes, with anything, least of all a house fire. So it begins to boil forth, and you drop to your knees, clutching your chest as your wings begin to grow large and empowered behind you. The flames building. Your mouth extends in a screech, and very stylistically, actually, your whiffed fireball is visible from the bottom of your throat. You look horrifying right now. Shockingly, this doesn't hurt you very much.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, Marcus, you have this moment of abject horror as your body begins to transform without your permission, and it feels fucking abysmal. But then you open your mouth and you let out a burp, and you are completely fine afterwards.
Okay, that's better.
I don't need any more monsters on the field, Marcus.
Hey, look, we're all monsters on the inside.
How dare you?
Not the right guy.
Marcus, you emerge in your full demonic glory, and your abilities have once again changed, and you know what? You're getting used to this.
A little bit. I didn't want to get used to it, but well, here we are.
Gregor, despite all this wild shit going on around, he's only got his eyes locked on one target. And once again, without any particular stance, he just charges forward at full speed, leaps into the air, and brings his glaive down on the boar's face.
Gregor, as you fly, this guy actually manages to swing his sword up. He catches you in the shin as you fly over and takes a good meaty chunk out of it. But you stay on your path. You keep flying through the air.
Get out of my way!
Gregor, you feel compelled to do something. So you leap and try to slam your glaive down on the boar's head, and suddenly you feel his eyes on you. More eyes than are probably logistically contained within that helmet. He swings his sword up and around, and you manage to dodge out of the way, your stance of clarity managing to bring you to that like borderline sixth sense point, and you manage to re-angle, drive yourself across the ground, and you slide. And you land next to the Ashen Knight, and you feel your joints loosen, and you pick up the glaive, sort of holding it less with one hand and just more like a bat. You pick it up and you manage to sort of boost yourself off the ground using it like a walking stick. You rise up to your half height, hunching over slightly, and then strike forward. Gregor, you've involuntarily used the Ashen stance. So...
Yeah, you're welcome.
Without realizing it, he's in the Ashen stance, and just that anger and violence in him is easier to channel into something positive, like stabbing. And he stabs, and he stabs, and he stabs, and he stabs at each one of the boar's limbs.
You puncture each of the boar's limbs, and like he stumbles backwards. Now all of his blood converted to quicksilver. He struggles to stand, and well, all three of you are now using your weapons as crutches. But as his sword is driven into the metal of the ground, instead of rebounding off like your glaive, it actually sinks in slightly, and the castle itself lets out another howl. There's something about that sword it's taking over the castle. It's ripping it away from the Ashen Knight. You feel your big friend next to you shudder as his own connection to the castle begins to waver more and more. And the boar also is going to bleed more quicksilver. These metallic warriors spring up and strike at each of you. Gregor and the Ashen Knight, you both are just so on the ball when these things spring up around you. Gregor, you dodge to the side in an instant, sword clashes against the ground. Ashen Knight, you just parry it using your sword, almost like a tree trunk. Nothing can quite swing through that. Marcus, this guy just pulls out his knife and tries to stab you, and you disappear into bats. Put yourself where you want to be.
Oh, in the fuckhouse.
In the fuckhouse, I see.
I was born to be in the. No.
Let's call it the cozy corner.
Of course, you teleport into the nice niche, and you manage to dodge out of the way. The bats reconfiguring and recreating your body, a screeching mass. Like all of them are actually peppered with fire as you travel through. Harlock,
This is a neat nook.
Neat nook. So this wide open room isn't exactly Harlock's fighting wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But she has an idea of how she can be helpful. She's gonna run up here. She's going to drop her backpack and leave it for Kier.
Oh, that's exciting.
Don't get used to it. I don't intend to ever do this again.
The amount of trust you're placing in me right now.
Just don't hurt Homunculus. He's in there.
What? You hear yelling as Kirk begins to quickly reconfigure and build something out of the tools you dropped.
Oh no.
What's
Now-
that? Build a mech suit for homunculus?
Now we're going to grappling hook arm onto Ashen Knight.
Oh, fun. Okay.
And when her hand connects to his shoulder, she's going to check. And she's going to be like, just about as sturdy as I thought. And then she's going to pull herself, zip, up and around onto his shoulder.
Oh, fun.
Seeing Marcus, she's going to comment on the fact that he is not normally Marcus. But tapping the rose that he had given her is going to trust that he's still in there. And is going to recommend.
Marcus actually taps his own rose in
Good.
like in solidarity and winks at you.
She nods. Keep these guys off of Gregor. I need to figure out why that dickhead didn't die.
I'll do my best.
You peer at, first of all, you look at Vice over in the corner. That fucker over there, that smug bastard who's just sitting and watching the fight at this point. That one, that was little more than a parlor trick. This dude probably has some sort of bullshit water magic. You can see it now. The one that you're even looking at ain't the real one. This dude is like a wiggly, wavy, inflatable tube man. And he's just watching, probably doesn't exactly pose a threat to you guys, and you're like, I see your bullshit. But the one immediately, and that explains why he lived through the fucking from a few seconds ago. But the one in front of you, the paladin remaining, the boar, you look at his wounds and you look at his eyes. You actually get a shot of what his face looks like, and weirdly it almost matches Marcus's right now. While Marcus's eyes emit this eerie and empty light, his sort of glow, pop, and hiss with an almost mercury that contains miniature kaleidoscopes inside of it. It's almost entrancing to look at. You fucking wait a second. This dude is bleeding the same stuff you saw in the hallway outside. This is pure unadulterated chaos. And you watch as the sword that's connected to his wrist, and oh god, connected to his wrist. It's almost grafted to him gruesomely. Pulses like an organ, forcing more of this material into his body. You can tell whatever the boar is has been overtaken by this warping, chaotic energy, and that same energy is ripping away at the castle, combining and coalescing with him. And all of these paladins, these are probably willed into existence in the way that chaos can be shaped. Because chaos is the energy of creation, after all. You know this better than anyone else. So, yeah, you get a feeling that you know what this creature is now. You don't know how to kill it.
But the sword's the problem.
Sword is the problem.
All right, if I can, after all of that thinking that I was doing on Ashen Knight's shoulder.
all that big brain action, yeah?
That was a big brain.
That was a big brain play.
Yeah, she's gonna roll her arm back and try and shoot his arm off. The one holding the sword.
You hit his weakened arm, and where Gregor stabbed, it actually breaks and falls off. I'm not gonna go into the viscerals of it, because it's nasty. And it touches down on the ground and hisses and becomes a line of metal connecting him to the blade. You get the feeling that this connection might be on a more fundamental level. There's this grotesque, almost suspended in the air, zigzag line of mercury, still connected to the boar, but he ain't holding the sword now. The boar looks down at this horrible line that's connecting him to the blade, and the blade looks up at him, and it reminds you all of Ranch for a second, and that's bad enough. And it begins to, the sword itself begins to sort of pop and contort, and he looks at you, Gregor, specifically, and he starts to say something. He mouths with a throat that can no longer really carry voice anymore. It's too full of this thick, choking liquid. He mouths, "I'm sorry," as the sword itself crawls its way up that line, turning the normally, like, sort of gross Quicksilver material a fleshy, bloody red. It's horrific. And it darts upwards into the boar's arm, and you hear a crunch. And Marcus, from beneath you, the ground begins to shake and contort, and from the castle, a version of the sword springs outwards and drives itself upwards, pretty soundly impaling you.
Yeah.
But that's not all. The blade continues on. Rather than just leaving you there to fucking bleed out, it pulls back down and reappears in the distance, and then pulls back down and reappears again, and it goes and goes and goes and goes down this hallway into the very throne room of Castle Crowhenge. The sword, this creation of pure chaos, spikes its way down. It upsets this torch, sending the fire, the coal sprawling everywhere. And it strikes the place that the Ashen Knight's body is interred. The blade erupts from the bottom of the coffin, dividing it in two, and a thin layer of ash falls on the surroundings like snow.